pretty safe to say. God give it, God take it away. It's the worldwide American way.
What's going on, team? Proof here, and today I'm giving some of my early thoughts on Dominate and the Dominate keyword now that we have seen the official text on the card, how it performed in the anime, got to see some of the anime effects, and we got a fair amount of some of the cards revealed, especially Shiranui Oboro. And this isn't going to be like a full comprehensive talking about the keyword, because I'm sure there's a whole lot more to talk about that people have probably dived into. But it's kind of some of the things that went through my own head when thinking about the keyword and how it could apply to the game. So we're going to talk about the positives that I had. We're going to talk about some of the positive thoughts that I had about it, and then we're going to dive into some of the negatives. Start off with the positives first. And first off, it's a really strong keyword. Like, being able to attack with your opponent's units is a design space that we haven't seen in the game yet, and it really opens up a lot of different avenues that they could take with the keyword, which means they need to be careful with how they apply it and what they do with the abilities of the cards themselves, because it could tread into really dangerous territory. But overall, it's a really strong keyword. It revitalizes Nubatama, because even though they did get support in the tech booster way back when Spikes did, they had a moment in time where they were really strong, and then it kind of tapered off to where they became kind of the, I guess you said, like the third rung, the unfavored child out of the three clans in the tech booster, because both Tachi and Spikes both got support well before Nuba's did in this upcoming expansion, this upcoming set that's about to come out. And they kind of fell off to where they kind of disappeared from relevancy. And this keyword and the support coming out in set 11 and the trial deck just bumps it up to where they're suddenly being recognized for what they can do. I know Dominate goes a different direction than what Nubatama has done previously, which is force your opponent to discard. But if you think about it, it's kind of in a similar vein, because you either have to take a damage or you have to use a card in your hand you otherwise wouldn't want to, which is the equivalency of a Dreadmaster boosted column. Even though the requirement for Dreadmaster to work means you need to have less cards than your opponent, it still puts you in that same scenario where you have to take the hit or you have to lose a card from your hand. And Dominate attacking immediately means you have to take a damage, you have to discard, aka discard a card to protect yourself for it. So it's in that same vein, it just operates differently. And it's a really interesting way to approach multi-attacking, just because it's an unexplored, what's the word? It's an unexplored territory that we're diving into. So it's really interesting, it's really cool. I'm excited to see what Bushiroad is going to do with it, as long as they don't err too far onto the side of craziness, like keep towing that line of fair and unfair and stay more on the good side of fairness. But with that said, I'm going to go into some of the things I thought were negative about Dominate. And a lot of the stuff we've seen that can actually dominate, like Oboro, the trial deck, I don't know if it's a trial deck stride or the stride that they showed in the anime, and Mugen Lord, they are really, they either have no cost at all or they're extremely low costed. And putting no cost or a 1 counterblast cost on something like Dominate or Time Leap, because this has shades of Time Leap, kind of overpowers it to the point of, if they're not careful, it could become another time with, like how Time Leap was, when it was a huge problem to deal with because of attacking for a lot of times without requiring resources from your hand while drawing cards in the process. And there are cards within the new stuff that allows you to draw a card when you dominate something. So far it's not too bad, but if Bushiroad keeps going down this path, it could become a huge problem where they have to like rail it back and restrict something, which kind of happened with the time leap stuff, as we saw with the restriction of TikTok and Uwatar. And it kind of seemed like it was a huge oversight to put Dominate in Nubatama, because Nubatama is already a clan that can manipulate your opponent's hand. You're now doing it on two avenues, I should say, because you have the stuff that can work like Dreadmaster and Miyabi, which I believe is the Amber Clone's name, and then you have the stuff that dominate and take advantage of units being dominated. So you're manipulating your opponent's hand in two different ways, and with cards in hand being the most precious resource in Vanguard when it comes to protecting yourself, putting that much power to manipulate hand in one clan could become dangerous. So you can attack them early with Dreadmaster, force them to discard or put something to their drop zone, and then you can bring it back with Oboro to then punch them in the face with it. And it could become like it's gonna be a theme I've been saying, where it could become really dangerous if they're not careful. But I think it was kind of an oversight, or I said huge oversight, but I'm gonna backtrack that a little bit. I don't say a huge oversight currently, but I feel like it was a bit of an oversight to put Dominate in a clan such as Nubatama. It seemed like Bushiroad didn't want to make a new clan for the game because there's already so many clans. So it was like, where can we put, maybe they had the idea for Dominate before, they were like, where can we put this particular keyword to where it won't become so devastating? And they picked Nubatama over other clans where it potentially could have fit. I don't know off the top of my head where it could have fit better, but it seemed like that's what they were doing, is like, where can we put this and make it strong but not overwhelmingly strong? And they felt Nubatama was the best place. And then they designed what's his name, Kazumi, and everything else that's happening right now around that. And that kind of takes me back to, there's an issue with Bushiroad when it comes to tying support to the anime. So because they've shown or said that some cards are a byproduct of how they wanted the anime to go, such as Pedal Round Dragon, because there was Demiurge, which can manipulate the top of the deck. They were like, how can we do that while sticking to the theme of Gear Chronicle? And then that gave birth to Pedal Round. And tying support to the anime has been a huge overarching problem for Bushiroad, because that leaves a lot of clans on the outside looking in, unless they're throwing a bone in some of these sets where they put a large emphasis on characters that be featured in the anime, and then they kind of like have these little tag-along clans as a way to fill out the set because they haven't gotten support in a while. So you kind of have to like hitch your wagon to a person as opposed to attaching yourself to a clan, which, in my opinion, isn't the best way to go about support. But I don't work at Bushiroad or anything, but there's a way they could have clans get support without tying it into the anime, while still keeping the anime as a big advertisement for the cards and the sets themselves. I wish they would find like a nice medium there, but they're already too far gone to change it as of now, at least for the current season. Maybe they can change it in the future, but designing, like, I feel like that's where Dominant came from. It's like they wanted to have Nubatama come up in the world, and they're like, or like, we got this big baddie here who plays Nubatama. How can we make him relevant and show how strong he is while making Nubatama stronger in the process? And then it kind of thought of the dominant keyword and kind of went along with the story of Diff Ride and everything like that. So they kind of like tried to tie it all together through this keyword, which is the driving force behind where the anime is going. If that makes any sense at all. But after going through it and getting over the initial overreaction that I had, and I'm sure other people had, and I kind of thought about it, hopefully Dominate is going to become this new big, what's the word, like hovering cloud to where people are only playing dominate, or a large percentage of tournaments, a huge percentage of tournament atmospheres are dominate, Nubatama, and then like a trickling amount of everything else, because that's how strong it is. Because just how the way the keyword functions kind of opens the door for a lot of people to hop into it, because of how strong it is, and because it's getting a whole lot of support at once through the trial deck and set 11. And being able to have functionally 10 rearguard circles to play with, and being able to have advantages over other multi-attacking plans, such as not being as hampered as much by Kagero and Lincoln Joker because you can use their own units against them, kind of gives them a leg up on the competition. And before I close off on this video, I remember seeing there's a section of people that think dominate isn't really that bad because it's small attacks, so you can rely on defensive triggers. And then there's a section of people that are like, this is the next broken thing. And I kind of sat in the middle there because I had my huge overreaction, and I kind of thought about it more. I was like, okay, it's a really good start, but it's a good start, that's what it is, and not so overpowering yet. But to the people, to the section of people that are thinking how this isn't as bad as Aquaforce and stuff like that because of defensive triggers, I get where they're coming from with that, but I also disagree with that line of thinking, because the difference between Aquaforce and what Dominate can do is that for Dominate, when you dominate a rearguard and attack with it, if you hit a defensive trigger, you can remove the threat of it. However, for dominate abilities, they carry the powers at the end of turn, as far as I can tell from the cards that have come out. So if they dominate a unit once, say it's an 11k, it becomes 15, and then if they dominate it again with an additional power boost, it becomes 19,000, which then hits over the defensive triggered Vanguard. And it costs them no resources out of hand. So even if it was something that they couldn't dominate something again to hit your opponent to hit the Vanguard with, they still didn't give up any resources to do it, and they still had their own side of the field to use to form 16k plus columns, which is not something that Aquaforce can do, because if they put something on the field and attack with it and you hit a trigger, that circle is now occupied and they can't use it to hit the opponent's Vanguard again until the following turn. But that's not the case for Nubatama, because they play with 10 rearguard circles if you're playing the Dominate deck. So that's where it could become overpowering if Bushiroad isn't careful, because the field is wider for a Dominate player to function versus everybody else who has to function within the confines of 5 circles. Nubatama playing Dominate functions in a world where they have 10 rearguard circles, which, as I said before, gets them a leg up on the competition. And that's where they need to be careful about the support they tie into this. So those are my thoughts on this. Hopefully, things don't get out of hand, like I've reiterated a lot. And let me know what you guys think about the keyword. Let me know what you guys think about my thoughts, and let me see how you feel about things that I've said. Hope you enjoyed. Look out for more. I got some ideas in the pipeline coming through. And until next time, guys, peace. Be easy.